Dr. Jack Cruz. He's a Bitcoin maxi, and I started following him because I think just my health and fitness algorithm started showing me a little bit more about circadian health and showing me more about mitochondrial health. And then learning more from him and his teachings, he then opens the idea to Bitcoin and, again, the sovereignty of that, taking away the centralized programming, as you mentioned it before. So being able to think for yourself, thinking outside of the box, what else is out there? And then once you start thinking those questions, well, what's up with the Federal Reserve? What's up with what else happened in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country? You start to ask yourself those type questions, and then you really start to deconstruct what the system is, right? The banking system, for lack of better terms, too. So yeah, I would say probably circadian health, mitochondrial health, and those go hand in hand. Fed me into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin's just continued to allow me to kind of question things, right? To have that, okay, I'll listen, but then I'm going to do my own research, right? Verify, don't just trust.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Sports Network podcast, where we blend excitement with competition to create unforgettable experiences. Our mission is to empower Bitcoin one competition at a time and help orange pill the world.
And we're back with the Bitcoin Sports Network podcast. I'm excited to bring back for a second time Matt McKay. He's a professional golfer, a professional trainer, somebody everybody should have on their X profile as a follow. He has some phenomenal golf tips that will really help you take your game to the next level. Matt, how you been, man?
Been really well. Been busy, getting into full season down here in Florida. A lot of people coming out of the woodwork, getting lessons. So staying busy with golf lessons, teaching more on the teaching line outside, and then obviously the fitness side, my bread and butter, getting people engaged with that. So having a lot of new students come on board that are doing more of the performance package with me, which is, golf lessons and fitness training. So kind of incorporating those two movements, doing things like, med ball tosses, single leg balance, being able to learn how to actually rotate on a hip versus just spin around in place. But yeah, been really busy with that. Last week was over in New Orleans. We have a great opportunity to teach at the Zurich Classic, teach the VIPs, teach some of the CEOs, the wives and whatnot. So 40 lessons in 4 days, really getting after it. But hey, we are in the heart of the season. So this is exactly what we love to do. But yeah, everything's great. Movement, it's great.
That's what Bitcoiners do, right? We see an opportunity and we just go do things. We take action where others don't.
Exactly. Have to get some skin in the game, so to speak.
That's right. Hey, let's take it back a little bit further to kind of your genesis of where you really got passionate about golf, and where were you at in your mindset when you first got into golf, on where you thought you'd be able to take your the sport to where you've ended up now, and how you've kind of managed that performance.
Right. So coming into the sport, baseball was my background. So never had a problem with the physical side of things, right? Could always work harder, do more drills and more tee work to become a better hitter on the ball field. So coming into golf, I'd say probably some naiveness of thinking that would just transfer directly over. But, between the 2 years is a big thing in golf. You're the only one out there, right? So you're in charge of your motions, your control of your emotions, hopefully as well. So, in baseball, you get up maybe 4 or 5 times a game. If you're a pitcher, you have a little bit more control, but it's more of a team sport. So you don't have to be on at all times. So yeah, coming into golf was kind of some learning experience came with that, of trying to work on more of the mental side of things. Being able to understand things I can control and then cannot control. The environment around you is always changing, right? Or if you play different courses, play in different areas of the country, you're going to have different variety. So trying to understand what you can control and doing your research, doing your homework, doing your prep work, your drills, fitness, doing all that before is important. But yeah, it was kind of just like anything, you take something on, it takes a couple years, you kind of realize where you're at. And then I kind of realized I probably wouldn't be competing at the top level as intended, but still had a love for the game, still learned a lot about the physicality side of it, the mechanic side of it. So that transitioned really well for me into doing more of a teaching career, being able to share those experiences that I've had with others so that they can understand and play the game better.
Have you ever did you
So
have any mentors along the way that helped give you kind of this clarity into some of these, tough decisions? 4 inches between the ears, they say, is the biggest thing and the biggest challenge in golf. Like, how did you overcome those mental challenges?
yeah, where I moved to was in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, so a mecca for golf. One of the courses I started playing with got in a group, a guys group, a men's group, and one of the guys that I played with consistently on a weekly basis was a caddy on the PGA Tour, and then another one of the guys was a teaching professional, a PGA of America professional. So playing with those guys, one, they got to understand my game, my swing tendencies on the mechanical side, but also my emotional side. Sometimes after you make a bogey or a double bogey, it's not the best idea to go up to the next tee and swing out of your shoes out of aggression, right? It can kind of lead to compound trouble, or, more strokes on the card essentially. So having guys that played with me, but then also after the round, be able to just have a chat and say, hey, remember on this hole when this happened, give me a little bit more awareness, I suppose. And then, yeah, as you continue work down in the industry, you meet more people. So a couple along the way, but those were the main two, Ray and Tom. Tom's my golf coach. So we touch base maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and just always on basic things, make sure grip's correct, make sure the backswing pivot's nice, make sure we're transferring the energy. So it's always great to have a second set of eyes to bounce ideas off, but then for them to watch you as well.
Cool. Have you been playing in any tournaments at all lately? Anything fun in the golf world outside of teaching others?
Unfortunately not. Yeah, with it being busy season, I think I'm averaging 1 round a month right now. But still able to hit balls at the academy after work. So it feels like we're right there. And again, if the mental game's there, I'm ready to go, ready to get out there. But the couple times I have gotten out, moving around great, but then have maybe a 3 or 4 hole stretch of just a little rusty, a little sloppiness, silly bogeys. But birdie's still coming along the way. So sharpen things up as the season goes on, and work on putting probably a little bit more too.
Yeah. If you could give like one tip to somebody who's trying to take their game to the next level, and whether it's an actual functional golf tip or it's a mental tip, or I don't know, it's a health or diet tip. I don't know. But, what would be one thing that you would say somebody should stay focused on to keep them grounded in their sport?
I think especially for golf, having a routine is important. On the course routine, practice routine, and then off the course routine. Making sure your body and, your body, everything's in aligned, right? Having good rhythm. And I think the biggest one for that circadian rhythm. One, trying to go to bed a little bit earlier, but also staying off our phones, staying off tech late at night. When the sun sets, that's probably a good time to kind of start dimming things. We have a bunch of red incandescent light bulbs in our house, so we turn that on. Turn the color filter on your phone so it's more of a red screen. But if you can get to bed earlier, if you can allow yourself to get into your hormone recycling, be able to absorb and use some of that melatonin that we create during the day, then you wake up earlier, wake up with the sun, and that fits right into golf. Majority of the rounds, yes, twilight rounds are awesome. They're a little bit cheaper too, but golf is a morning sport. Dew sweepers, dew chasers are always pretty fun, getting that first or second round off in the day, where the course still has that dewy effect. You can kind of chip your ball and see how it rolls out, maybe get a read from your playing partners in the morning. So, but yeah, getting your circadian rhythm in check would probably be the biggest thing. And that kind of, like I said, covers it all, because you're going to be then excited to go to the course. You're going to be excited to practice, and then you have the whole day ahead of you to do whatever you need to do on a personal level.
Are there any of those philosophies or ideas that you take into golf? Do you take those into how you think about your finances, Bitcoin? We want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin on this show.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would say, having the patience and then doing your due diligence, verify, don't trust, right? Do a little bit of homework, find different, you brought up mentors, but find different avenues that you can learn a little bit about what's going on in the entire market. Understanding how, Bitcoin can be influenced by other markets, just again, more of an ecosystem idea. And I think that goes with golf, right? If I'm really focused on just hitting driver, hitting it straight, hitting it, this way. And then I neglect my putting. I neglect my short game. The scores might be around the same, but, we have to have a full picture, of both things. I think it'd be great.
If you were going to do some, give recommendations for practice for people, if they have an hour block of time, how much time should they spend with the driver versus the irons versus the short game wedges and putter?
Mm-hmm. I would say probably at least 30 minutes of that on the short game side of it. The reason for that is the objective of the game is get the ball in the hole, right? So if we can have confidence, I think is a big thing. Working on either it's a chip shot where it's a little bit in the air and more of a rollout, like a bump and run type idea, or if you're able to do more of a toss or more of a pitch shot where you have to go a little bit higher, potentially over a bunker. Practicing both of those because different situations will call for different shots. Also putting, again, getting the ball in the hole, feeling some confident with that. I think going to the golf course with confidence, especially with the putter, is huge just for your round as you get around. But then to follow that up, as you're doing chipping, as you're doing pitching, you're finding the bottom of the club, right? Or the bottom of the swing arc, I should say, with the club. So getting a little bit of brush in the grass, a little bit of turf interaction, that'll then build into your full swing. So then maybe, the last 20, maybe 30 minutes, go over, do more full swings. I would still do some abbreviated, maybe punch shots, or, just smooth hip height to hip height, feeling how you transfer the weight, feel how you find your low point in the swing, and then slowly, gradually build that up. Also, it's one of these things, whenever we get on the course, we're probably going to swing maybe another 5 to 10% harder naturally because we're playing the game, right? If I'm in practice mode, I might not go all the way at it, or my body might not sync up completely because I'm more technical or thinking about, a drill or thinking about an idea, versus on the course, you're naturally going to let it go. So practicing the full swing a little bit less, again, maybe I'd say 20 minutes of those 40. If you want to be a little bit more, go 30, but do the short game. Short game's always going to be there, 100 yards and in.
Okay, sounds good. So on a Bitcoin front, what's the word? What have you been researching? Where's your mind at when it comes to Bitcoin as it goes? Earlier in the year when we first met, Bitcoin was at 108,000, and then it dropped down to 76,000, and now we're sitting right at about 100,000, and it's May 8th. So how have you navigated that mental stress we've all been going through, and what educational resources have you been going to help reinforce your conviction?
Yeah. Well said right there. Yeah. When I came down, or, when we had the Max and Stacy, we were looking great. Trump was about to be inaugurated. Everything was on the upswing. And then, living through those next, I guess, couple weeks, couple months, it's like, wait, where's it at? Where's it at? Trying to see when we're going to take that next peak, so to speak. So, I had learned through that to stay patient, right? Similar to golf. Like, I may want to try to birdie every single hole, but let's work our way through the course. Let's put ourselves in the right position. And then if there's an opportunity to strike, then, hey, we can jump at it. So, what I had learned also is, again, being more on the beginner side of Bitcoin, is not to check it 5 times a day. Check it,
20
check
times.
in the morning.
5 times isn't enough. You're not nearly bullish enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think another thing that helped for me too is my Strike app. For some reason, I got signed off of it. So I never logged back in, so I wouldn't have that easy check on my home screen. Maybe you can compare that to like looking at your handicap for golf, like every single day after my round. Did it go up? Did it go down? Like, we're playing the long game, and I think a lot of the stuff that I learned at the Max and Stacy, and then seeing it more as, an asset, or seeing it as more of the longevity game. My goal personally is not to day trade or get in and out, send coins back and forth. It's to hodl, right? To hold on and just keep on for the long run. So, when I was in New Orleans, that was also a week where I couldn't have the opportunity to check. And ironically, it jumped back into the 90s. And, like you said, we're right at 100 right now. So, through, I guess, just life, letting life work around you, control what you can control, but then, have the peace of mind that you have done your work, you have, your background, and just to keep on believing.
Yeah, the whole Michael Saylor thing where, he says the price is going up forever, Laura, and he will forever be buying the top of Bitcoin in his dollar cost averaging for what he's doing. I think that's so true, because at these times when the market just goes up and down and up and down, and you're just like, okay, is it in a range? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? I Frida and I, we started Bitcoin Sports Network full time now, so this is our full time job, and we had a couple of IRAs that were 401ks at our previous employers that we've now rolled over to an IRA, and it was stressful getting the money from the 401k over to the IRA in a window of time where Bitcoin was acting a little bit more volatile. And so you wanted,
Wow.
it's one of those times where like you want it to go up, but at the same time, you hope it goes down so that you can get more when the money rolls over. And then so it
Exactly.
finally got to the account, and I was like, okay. And it was middle of the afternoon. So I was like, okay, market's open for about another hour or so. I'm looking at the price. I'm like, I think it might go down a little bit more. So I didn't do anything. And then I went to bed and I woke up and Bitcoin's up like 3,000. I'm like, oh, like, just buy it. Just save it in Bitcoin. It's irrelevant what the price is today, because we know where this is all
Right.
all headed. Kind of take that back into a sports analogy. It's how do you help your students understand that it's not necessary, the day-to-day activity builds success in the future, but to not focus so much on the result of the day and focus more on the result of the future,
Hmm.
of the day in the future. How do you think through? Does that make sense? That question makes sense. How do you think through
Yeah,
that
no,
with your students?
absolutely. I think it depends on the student, like what they're trying to work on. So, using the example of a high level player, someone who's, competing, whether that's junior golf or trying to play professionally. Um, a good quote that I heard from a teaching pro was, "Do your habits match your goals?" So, are your day to day habits in line with whatever your goal may be? If you're trying to break 90, well, maybe practicing a couple times during the week would help. But if you're trying to win a tournament, do your habits match your goals, in the sense of, are you waking up with that mindset of, okay, I'm going to get better today, whether it's 1% better, or, some days it might be two steps backwards, but I'm still going to continue to move one step forward. So having the right mindset, understanding the big picture of things, and then, yeah, kind of being naive or having your blinders on, and just, yeah, trusting the process that things are going to continue to move up. I think especially in Western society, it's easy for us to think things just always are going to move on a linear pattern. And obviously the ebbs and flows of life, that's not the case. That's not human nature. That's not how the ocean or the earth works. And that's not how finances work, right? The volatility. So, having a little bit of research when you see an opportunity, and then you can pull the trigger to jump on it. And yeah, going back to something you previously have said, down in El Salvador, Patrick Lowry, he was telling me, hey, it doesn't matter if you buy it at 80,000 or 120,000 when it's at a million. What's the difference, right? So having that mindset of just like, hey, this is, something we all believe in, and it's not just a niche thing, but there's facts behind it, right? There's proof of work behind it. And 1% better every day. If you get two or three, awesome, but keep on keeping on, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I always like golf as kind of analogy for in the Bitcoin community too. I think the sport and the financial acumen that one needs to really understand. It talks about this 10,000 hours of education to really understand Bitcoin are really key factors in it. And one of the other sayings in the Bitcoin community is, everybody buys it, when it's at its high. I can't tell you how many times I've made significant buys thinking that it's going to go higher, only to see it crash 10% the moment I buy it. There's
Right.
lots of memes out there about it too. And so,
Guilty. I'll say guilty. Yeah.
yeah, and so everybody always assumes like I'm too late, I'm too late, I'm too late. And one of the things I love about golf is it's one of those sports where you can never be too late, and you can always jump in and start learning at any age, which is why I think so many professional sports athletes and people who have a really big competitive drive somehow always find their way to golf, no matter how they thought about it before. Oh, it's golf is only for old people. Golf, is like is for weak people. Like there's no muscle strength, there's no skill and whatever. And then they start playing it and they realize, oh my God, the rabbit holes that I just went down in golf. Everybody becomes a hobbyist. Like when you play basketball, you get a ball, you get shoes. Maybe your hobby is collecting tennis shoes, right? But the ball is the same. Same brand, same weight, same everything, same courts. Not really much you can do with that other than your clothing. But with golf,
Yeah.
you're using tools, right? So the club is a tool, and there's so many different variations and so many different weights and so many different whatever. Just like in the Bitcoin community, you look at Bitcoin and you're just like, okay, I want to buy this crypto asset. And then you're like, oh, no, this isn't a crypto asset. This is hard money. Oh, this is a bearer instrument. Oh, what about vaccines? Oh, what about health? Oh, what about, and you start tinkering in all these different realms that you never thought that you would get yourself involved in. So I guess that's a long way of asking this question of when you first started getting into Bitcoin, what was one of the first rabbit holes that you went down that was outside of the Bitcoin space that you never even contemplated before?
Great question. Yeah. When you were saying that, the word that popped in my mind was sovereignty, right? And I don't know if that's just because the winner of the Kentucky Derby, but yeah,
Signs are
sovereignty, right?
everywhere. I'm telling you,
I know, yeah, it's quantum entanglement to some extent, right? But
sovereignty beat journalism. I mean, I just it's almost like critical thinking skills beat social programming, gaslighting facilities.
yeah, no, yeah, you nailed it, right? Yeah, the system versus nature in a sense. Um, but for me, what really kind of jumps to me was I kind of jumped down more the circadian rhythm, the health side of things, which led me to Bitcoin. This was through Dr. Jack Cruz. He's a Bitcoin maxi, and I started following him because I think just my health and fitness algorithm started showing me a little bit more about circadian health and showing me more about mitochondrial health. And then learning more from him and his teachings, he then opens the idea to Bitcoin. And again, the sovereignty of that, taking away the centralized programming, as you mentioned it before. So being able to think for yourself, thinking outside of the box, what else is out there? And then once you start thinking those questions, well, what's up with the Federal Reserve? What's up with what else happened in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country? You start to ask yourself those type questions, and then you really start to deconstruct what the system is, right? The banking system, for lack of better terms, too. So yeah, I would say probably circadian health, mitochondrial health, and those go hand in hand. Fed me into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin's just continue to allow me to kind of question things, right? To have that, okay, I'll listen, but then I'm going to do my own research, right? Verify, don't just trust. And especially nowadays with all the fake stuff, all the AI stuff, it's like, if they put 20% out, if there's 100% pie graph and 80% is the truth, but then 20% is fake, you can't tell the difference which one's fake, and then you can go down the wrong rabbit hole. But just having an open mind and trying to learn as much as you can for your self-sovereignty, self-freedom.
It's funny you mentioned mitochondria and health, and one of the rabbit holes I've gone down a little bit deeper is the carnivore diet, or the health benefits of fasting, 3-day, 7-day intermittent fasting type deals, and eating a lot more proteins and animal fats versus processed fats, seed oils, and those types of things for mitochondrial health. Have you started changing? How do you see diet as an important part of staying at an elite level of performance, either mentally or physically?
Yeah, good point. Personally, I don't see it as high on the totem pole or low on the totem pole, whatever way you want to really look at it. Obviously, it's going to be important. Like, yeah, don't eat processed foods, especially here in the West. Everything is processed. You look at the back of a label, and like the 12th or 13th thing is like BPA or EEP, and it's like, what the hell even is that? Like, I don't know, but it's a preservative, so it's more shelf life. So, so Nabisco can make more money. Oh, so Kraft can make more money. Oh, great. So then, yeah, you start to look at it that way. So clean diet, simple diets. I am a big fan of protein, making sure that you're getting, I think for athletes, it's tough to get a 1-to-1 ratio in how much you weigh and how much protein a day. I'm a 180, so 180 grams of protein is quite a lot. But what I've learned is to front end that protein or front end your carnivore. If you can start your day with 50 to 80 grams of protein, then one you're going to be feeding your system for the rest of the day, so you have fuel. Two, if you can now front end at the end of the night when we actually are supposed to be slowing things down, going to sleep, not putting food in our body for then our digestive system to work all night as we try to sleep. So it helps with our mental side as well. But yeah, getting that front end protein, starting your day on the right foot, not eating, sugar, not eating cereal that's covered in sugar. That was me growing up. And I think because of that, I had a quick metabolism, but I could never put on weight, or I wasn't necessarily at the healthiest until I got into college and I was doing a little bit more protein. I'm a big believer, again, in getting sunlight in the morning. So if you look at Dr. Jack Kruz's work, he talks how important getting infrared light on us in the morning. That's going to probably be those first 30 to 60 minutes in the day, depending on the season. Like right now, it's probably about 45 minutes here in Florida before the UV light really comes out. But priming your body, priming your mitochondria with that more infrared light then is going to help with absorbing UV light, which then helps for low cortisol levels. It's going to also help for allowing you to almost use the photons from the sun as energy and not just calories. And then also, if your circadian rhythm's in check, like I said, on the back end, you're not eating. So I prefer doing my fasting at the evening time, not in the morning per se. Some people, if your schedule's tough and you get home late and you can't deal with that, that's understandable, especially if you have kids. Me and my girlfriend here, we're doing our best of waking up maybe an hour earlier every morning just so we can get the eggs, get the sausage, little things like that going. So changing your schedule overall. But then, yeah, that's just going to help for your health on a mitochondrial level, on a hormonal level. And then you put those two things together and your body can take care of itself through regeneration.
Do you ever talk about Bitcoin when you're talking with your regular clients out on the driving range?
Yeah.
What's your best Bitcoin orange pill story here as of recent?
Yeah. Talking about the trip to El Salvador, the Max and Stacy, and how awesome that was. That's always a good introduction, especially if I have a business guy that I'm working with. We get into, I talk about finance a little bit, but in an hour lesson, I don't want to get too astray from that. Now, if I play golf with someone, or if I have my clubs on the range and there's my head covers, again, from the closest to the pin, Max and Stacy, I always showing those off. That definitely sparks more conversation where it's like, oh, where'd you get those? Oh, you're into Bitcoin, or I don't even know what Bitcoin is. And then just a quick introduction. And then when you're playing a round of golf, you can talk 20 seconds here, then you go to your putt. Then the next hole, as you're driving to the next hole, in the cart driving the next hole, then you can bring it up again. And then just say, yeah, it's pretty simple to do. You can get an app on your phone, of course, big picture, if you're really putting some money in it, to get a cold wallet and talk about that kind of safety and security side of things. But yeah, I like to touch base about it. And then if I really get some interest, and I've had a couple younger guys that are all over the crypto game, right? And NFTs and things of that nature. And I kind of rib them a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's okay. But, have you thought about Bitcoin? Have you thought about the longevity of that? Have you looked at the proof of work? It's not just a fart coin where it goes up today and then it's gone in a week, right? So the head covers are definitely doing their job for that.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have is there one person that you've been just trying to get them just to start buying Bitcoin, or even look at it a little more? Like, who's the hardest person in your life that you're trying to orange pill?
So first it was my mom, because she's an accountant, she's in a CPA, and from Indiana. So like vanilla as it gets. So when I introduced it to her, her eyes kind of, took a step back because the volatility behind it. But she did her research, and yeah, she kind of sees it as an asset. So, I don't ask how much she's putting into it, but that was a big one. Again, just knowing her personally. But then, yeah, another one of my buddies, he's in the NFT game. And when that was popular, like 3 years ago, he was, coaching me up on that and trying to get me on board with that. And I had gotten like a couple tokens, but it was nothing. But he's always looking at new projects, and as he calls them, so he'll go and look at the how much is going in and out of a new coin, and if there's a bunch, he tries to buy it at 0.0002 and sells it at 0.01, and makes, he says, a couple grand here and there. I'm like, man, you need to just put that in Bitcoin every time you make a flip like that. So I think he's got a little, but I don't think he's all the way on board with it yet.
Yeah, he probably likes going to Las Vegas too, because those things are all gambles. It's just like, can I outpace the rug pull? Is really all you're planning to do, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it matches his personality just a little bit too, to kind of like chase a little bit, if I could say. So yeah, he's not a big gambler into that sense. He's more of he really is more of a probability guy, and more that mathematician side of things. But I think he just likes the game of doing that. It's like a coupon chaser. Like, some people don't even want to buy extra soap, but hey, if I buy 3, I get $5 off, so the soap's only 20 cents or something. People have their little itches.
Yeah, I was listening to this interview with Michael Saylor that he just came out with in a presentation for Bitcoin for Corporations to a large audience, and he was talking about when you'd think people who are like the smartest people in the world, in the geniuses of the world, would all own Bitcoin. If you're a Bitcoiner, you just assume that, right? But he basically goes on to say that what happens is, with all these geniuses, is they come up with 1,000 different reasons on why not to buy it, not the reasons why to buy it, because they're like, this is too good to be true. And then they get past that and they go, well, if this is going to compete with the government currencies, so they're gonna ban it, and they're gonna outlaw it, and they're gonna confiscate it, and they're gonna do all these things, and so they end up doing nothing. And in the meantime, the price, just continues to march on. The hash rate continues to march on, and it's almost like you can get too smart by a half. Is a comment that a guy by Greg Foss, who's a Canadian guy who used to use all the time, and I think it really encompasses 2 really important characteristics. One, from a professional sports theme of, don't talk yourself out of success. It's so easy to sit there and say, well, but there's so many challenges, and I don't know if I can do that. This other person I'm guarding is too strong. You come up with all of these excuses on why today's not your day that you can be successful. Versus some other people who are Hall of Famers, and they ask, how did you get there? And they all basically say in one form or another the same thing, which is, I didn't know I couldn't be here. It was never an option. I never thought about not succeeding.
Right.
And so how do we work to help more people realize, like, the strength within them is stronger than they believe, and that there's a community out there that has felt what they feel and wants to work together to get everybody better? Do you see that dynamic happening when you're on the golf course or talking with a lot of people? Do you see that change in at least our social groups surrounding?
Definitely. Yeah. I think, I feel like for golf, someone's trying to break 100, someone's trying to break 90, someone's trying to break 80. Like, you won't kind of have those thresholds. So if you're far away from breaking 70 or breaking 80, then, who cares? Let me have another beer, oh, it's a social experience to get out there.
Yeah. My least favorite comment that everybody in the golf course always says at some point is, well, at least we're not at work. Like, sometimes I'd rather be at work. It's more fun than be struggling out on the golf course.
Yeah, with your job, for sure. I could see that. Little comments like that. You can tell what type of golfer they are. Like, they're just enjoying being outside. And yeah, that's awesome. If that's your MO, if that's what you're doing, then rock on with it. But as you get closer to not perfection, but mastery, for lack of better terms, you start taking it a little bit more serious, right? And I think that goes back to the sovereignty thing of not just trusting what's happening around you, to the sense of, oh, I need to believe, or I need to, I just need to buy this next driver and then I'll be good, right? Oh, I need a Scotty Cameron putter and I'll start making putts. Like, no, you have to put in the work yourself if you want to see the results. You know, every professional athlete that's at the high level, they're not afraid of the hard work, right? They knew that was part of the process, and I think they end up embracing it. And I would probably say in finance, it's the same thing, right? You know, yeah, you're going to have your ups and downs, and during those downs, not to get too emotional with it, right? Just to ease with it, the ebbs and flows that come with the tides. So yeah, being able to have that peace of mind that there is room to grow, and you know, trying to keep the eyes on the sun, basically, not on the shade.
For all those bad golfers out there that don't own any Bitcoin, will Bitcoin fix their golf game?
Oh, 100%. I think so. Well, no, I mean, yeah, all jokes aside, like if you start getting into Bitcoin, your brain starts thinking differently, right? You start thinking outside the box. You think, what if I do that? Or, you know, you're just going to be more in line with nature and less in line with seeing Mr. White Coat and doing whatever he says to do to you. Take this pill, take that pill. Like, no, take the orange pill, learn a little bit about yourself, learn a little bit more about what it's like to have sovereignty, and take your life back, right?
Very cool. Very cool.
If you have more money, then you can get out on the golf course more too. So yeah, I think that goes hand in hand. Make more money on the golf course and skins games, and you know, making more greenies or whatever games you play with your guys. Then put that into Bitcoin.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people think golf is a really expensive sport, and it can be depending on how you treat the sport. But in a lot of cases, it can be the perfect sport for somebody with no money, because most golf courses will have a chipping area, a putting area, a bunker. You can find some that have longer chipping area, so you can practice your approach shots in from 60 to 80 yards and really get
Yep.
that in good. And I think that's misunderstood too about Bitcoin and golf. You know, they think golf is an expensive sport. They think Bitcoin is an expensive asset. But considering you can buy it at any fraction out to 8 decimal places, which will get you to that 0.000. I mean, I think it's 1,000 Satoshis right now is around $1, which
Oh
is
wow.
a very,
Yeah.
attainable amount that people can start stacking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you are a fantastic trainer. Can you give a good send off with how people can find you? I know you also do some online teachings and trainings or help. Where can people find you, and how can they get better at their golf game and hopefully have you as a coach to do that?
Yeah. So I'm a teaching pro at the PGA Tour Golf Academy here at World Golf Village in Florida. So if you're ever in the Florida area, if you need to get away from wherever you're living and want to come down to Florida, we could do a 2 or 3 day clinic type deal where, you know, it's like a golf school. It'd be customized for what you would want to work on during those 2 to 3 days. And then while you're down here, you can go to the beaches, you can play golf. Like it's a great kind of escape from your everyday life. We can also work online. So I do online training via, Zoom. So what tends to happen with that is you would send me your golf swing from face on and down the line, and then we would have a conversation discussing what we would want to work on. Also, we could do lessons via FaceTime. As long as we've got good connection, there should be no problem with that. So PGAtourGolfAcademy.com would be how you can get online to the website, see more about me there. And then my socials, McKay Golf Fitness is my personal, and then Early Bird Golf Performance. Those are both on Instagram, where I'm posting more about, the golf side of things, the videos. That's going to be more on Early Bird Golf Performance. And then Early Bird Golf RX on X. Performance was too long of a handle. So, and then my email address would be McKay TPI. My last name, then TPI is in Titleist Performance Institute at gmail.com. Shoot me an email, initiate a conversation that way. A lot of the people that I do work with, we're making sure that they're moving correctly, right? Doing the things at home, right? Doing your homework before you get to the golf course. So making sure your hips are moving correctly, having some just a body awareness, I think is a big aspect of that too. Understanding how to hip hinge, understanding how you load your feet, the pressure shift, these little things that go into everyday life, but then have huge implications on the golf course. So big fan of doing single leg work, standing on one leg, even if I'm going to do a bicep curl, even if I'm doing a tricep pull down at the gym, like a very bodybuilder exercise, but standing on one leg is going to get your balance better, your proprioception, your core is going to lock in, and then you have to focus with it too, right? I think a lot of times we kind of go to the gym and, some people say, oh, I got to do these 7 exercises on this list and kind of half-ass it. But be engaged with it. Keep your mind engaged. And I think that's where my strong suit is, being able to give you those points of interest on an objective level. So you know what to focus on and know what to think about when you are exercising or hitting golf balls for that matter.
Awesome. So everybody, you heard it there first. Reach out to Matt, ask him your golf questions. He'll make you a better player. I know he's given me some tips that have really translated. It took some time, but into a better golf swing and some more consistent swing. So I've really appreciated that. As a final note here, I just want to do an announcement about the Bitcoin Golf Championship and Bitcoin for Corporations event we have going on down in Las Vegas on May 26th to kick off the best week in Bitcoin, which is the Bitcoin conference here in the United States. It's going to be 20 to 30,000 people at the Bali High Golf Club, which is about 8 minutes from the Venetian, which is where the conference is going to be held. We're going to be having a very fun golf tournament, the second annual Samara Bitcoin Golf Championship for 144 golfers. We got some really great custom prizes, some custom watches by Coin Vigilante, some head covers and custom things like the ones you see behind you there that Matt has from Hodl 21. We also have some custom head covers for the champions from KNG. And then we do on the closest to the pin holes, we do some very custom, unique, inspired from the event wedges, like the one Matt just showed there on the screen. That one was from our event down in El Salvador, the Max and Stacy Invitational. And so come to our website, bitcoingolfchampionship.com. Check it out. We're going to be a lot of heavy hitters there. We're going to have Max Kaiser is going to be there. Stacy Herbert's going to be there. Lawrence Lepard's going to be there. Michael Saylor may be there. Some of his crew from Strategy are definitely going to be there. And a whole lot of other people that you'll never get a chance to talk to outside of coming to one of our networking events. So check it out. Come visit us. We love it. If you have any questions, reach out to Bitcoin Sports Network. And with that, we'll say bye to Matt and see you next time, everyone.